Well, we would say that is fairly clear, meaning, and we understand, we do not mean to be obtuse or play a game with you. You are in a period of history where you are beginning to see human rights eroded, taken away. That is the goal. That is the attempt and the intent. But, and this is very important, pay attention to the grassroots movements in the areas that have been most struck. The amount of people saying no, and the way they are figuring out how to say no. We have said for many years, this is a revolutionary time on Earth, but it won't always look like old-style revolutions, because you are in a very different time in history, and energy is different and technology is different. But you are at a time on Earth where, as we will call it, internal control starts to crumble more and more, which it will over the coming years, you as people are going to have to fill in the gaps where your system leaves a gap. So, for example, as certain systems become more destabilized, you, the people, are going to have to figure out how to make it work for and by and with yourselves. So we are not implying that whole parts of your infrastructure will disappear overnight, for that would not serve anyone. You have to remember that the goal is to keep you here, but not necessarily with the freedom that you are used to. Now, that's the goal that is playing out right now. That is not the spiritual truth of Earth. That is the agenda of a dominating force who you are now in a reckoning with, because they are more exposed than they have ever been. So this is where you have to zoom out a little. You as human beings who are programmed to follow exactly what is playing out on Earth right now, you believe, uh-oh, we are trapped because our powers that be might not have our best interests at heart and we don't know how to get out of it. And we say, no. You are souls who were born unto the earth at this time to be part of the change of power system on Earth that has always been corrupt, but now you can see it. Now you can feel it. Now you have tools, wherewithal, and know-how to tackle it. This is why your own personal empowerment is so important at these times. That is why we said to you, Jonathan, you feeling sadness, even though that's not comfortable for you, it's not desired, it's good. Feel the sadness, feel the grief, feel the anger, feel the rage, feel the devastation. Those feelings won't last, because your will to live and your will to build a new world will kick in. That is what you are all here doing. So yes, we are having a very sobering conversation perhaps about areas of the planet that are quite difficult to navigate right now. But what you also have to remember is the amount of angelic and energetic support that is now gathering around this planet. We have said this for many years. You are getting help, and we will call it interference, for some of those lower agendas all of the time. You just will never hear about that on your mainstream news. That is why this kind of programming conversation is very important. This is the resistance. And we don't like using that term because it pulls you back into a us-them paradigm. The truth is all of you are going to die at some point. That's inevitable. You will either die of old age or you will die earlier. So death is going to happen. You are often caught by your fear of death. Your fear of death is one of the ways they catch you. Well, you're all going to die. The question is, are you going to live? And how do you want to live? And do you want to live in a world that is more free for all? And this is very important. We now have to say this. The consciousness of humanity has developed to such a degree that no longer are you needing the old form of the system. You've outgrown it. So you think they're trying to enslave you because they are trying to quickly trap you all before you will get too powerful. No, it's already happened. It's already happened. That is why they are trying to clamp down now. You have already gone beyond human consciousness in recent decades and centuries. So there are more of you on the planet now who are more, we will call it, tapped in. You may not yet have figured out how to bring it to the system of the world. But what we can tell you is this, because we understand the need for a hero or a savior. And we are not telling you a bedtime story when we say this, and we also don't want you to rely on the idea that someone's going to come in and scoop you up at the last minute and save you. But you are, in the coming years, going to see of more awareness of your galactic origins, that Earth is a part of galactic, not just humanity, but galactic consciousness and a galactic tribe. And there are those who have already been on your planet for a very long time, who are going to come to the surface a little more. Part of the problem is, it is the old story that you believe in that keeps you in the story. More and more of you aren't believing the story anymore. And once you don't believe the story, your energy field can't be a vibrational match for it, which means you can't recreate the story. That's why so many right now are rushing to try and gain control.
It's amazing, and I want to put some detail, a little flesh on the bone of what you were talking about, as I understand it, to see if I'm tracking right before moving into the empowerment, because it feels like that's where this conversation is going. But when you talk about clamping down control and that the systems are breaking down, it feels like we have to rebuild so that we can avoid control. For example, avoid everyone being monitored all the time, the new technological tools being used to control the movement of people, the not spying necessarily, but tracking every piece of information, the fact that our power is centralized and media is centralized. All the systems are becoming so centralized that they then have a monopoly and they can't be challenged in any way. So it feels like there needs to be new startups, the use of this technology in order to create and ensure safety, security, privacy, the ability to move, think, share ideas so that they can't be censored.
Yes, 10 to 15 years ago, we gave a message multiple times because it needed to be given, that those of you who are saying we wish the system would fall down overnight and we could rebuild something else, we said, oh no, you do not want that at all. That is not the way to go here. That would be devastation and chaos. And we said, it will all play out over a much slower timeline so that you can make adjustments as you go. Yes, innovation is very important. It is why we have given Lee the pieces of information that he delivers every month in his energy updates on YouTube, that there is a growing force of individuals that you may not even know about who are already building the new world. They are already building what is going to be needed for humanity in the coming years. And it is not one way, because it is going to vary from country to country, and it is going to vary from region to region. The centralization is what you want to avoid. But we are not too fond of predictions because timelines can change. But we will tell you that globalization, in the way it is desired, is not going to synthesize or synchronize. Because those egos of the individuals involved who think they can all team up to pull this off together, they are going to implode on each other. They are going to destroy each other. You are in the middle of watching that play out now. So the power hungry are having less places to hide. And the vibration of power hunger, it would be far better, we will say this, even though we do not mean this is what's going to happen, it would be far better if you all just died if that was going to play out. Because none of you will want to be here on that earth. But that is why that is not what's going to play out. But at the moment, what you are seeing is, we will call it galactic greed. It is not as earthbound as you think, and we do not say that to scare any of you or to challenge the notion that you are not living among humans, for you are. But there is galactic infiltration that has been here for a very long time.
We're very appreciative of all of the time and literally energy that you've been giving us. Before we return to our conversation with Lee, I wonder if you can give us some sort of support for what personal growth and transformation needs to look like in this time. What are the practical things that we can take from this information, and while knowing we don't know all of the information that's going to be coming? What do we need to be doing to prepare? Beware
of division. Division means when you are asked to point the finger at a group and see them as less than, or see them as a group that needs annihilation or stopping. This has been manufactured, by the way. The pumping of different agendas on Earth to get you to be angry at what this group want or this group need. It has been done deliberately by certain groups who know that getting you to fight each other is the fastest way to get you compliant and out of your collective power. So you will see division. It will happen. But choose not to engage with it. Choose to find those where you are aligned. Now, we are not saying do not have constructive conversations. For the other side of what we want to share with you, it is important to communicate your truth. Not to hit other people over the head with it or that you need to be understood. But it is important that you can calmly communicate your truth as you feel it and as you see it and know it. Why? The person you say it to might not believe you. They might find what you're saying strange. But 8 people later, it will lock in for them. Mayim spoke about conspiracy theories, which many would have dismissed. And now many of you are realizing, there was a lot of truth in that. Perhaps it was delivered in a way that was a little inflammatory at the time, or it wasn't quite the right style of communication I heard that in, or I just wasn't ready. Or more importantly, I didn't have enough evidence to support this outlandish claim as true. We think you can all admit that now, over the last 6 years, you have seen many outlandish things that pre-2020 you would not have believed possible. So you know that the gloves are off. So communicate your truth lovingly and peacefully, not to convince others, not to bludgeon others over the head. But if you feel someone is missing something, or they may need to hear what you have to say, lovingly and peacefully communicate your truth. And if they reject or fight your truth, let that be good information to you. This is not the time for us to be perhaps aligned on this or even close to each other, and that's okay. We understand that some of the trauma for some of you in recent years has been the heartbreak of the loss of friendships because of division.